Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. It's been a while since I've uploaded a combo guide, but with the World Championship qualifiers literally right around the corner for Master Duel, if they have not arrived already, I believe this should be going out the day before, or I think rather the day of, like about 12-ish hours before the event goes live. In any case here, I figured there might be some people who are looking for some knowledge about this deck if they're looking to use it in that event, because Fire King Snake Eye is actually quite a bit different than pure Snake Eye, not only in the lines themselves, but in how the deck plays. It's a lot less linear. And a lot of the time, when you have any given opening hand, you're going to have multiple options for what you're able to do on turn one. So in that regard, I wanted to make sure that everyone was all caught up to speed and that we are doing the combo lines that we are what we want to do, that we're aware of all the different combo lines that are possible, right? In addition, completely unique to Master Duel and the OCG, so not part of the TCG, is Fire King Courtier Ulcanix. So we are going to be showing off combo lines with this card as well, utilizing Fire King High Avatar Garunix. Probably one of the biggest questions I get about this deck is Ulcanix required? And the answer is no. You do not have to play Ulcanix. However, I do think it is very much worth the 30 UR craft points to craft old Garunix, Fire King High Avatar Garunix, and include the Ulcanix package. In my opinion, it is optimal, but I think it is also optional. So we are going to cover lines both with and without Ulcanix for this video. It's been a little while since I've done a combo guide as well, so I just kind of wanted to float some more knowledge out there. If you end up finding this video helpful, it is super helpful to comment and also give it a like, just to kind of help, you know, boost it in the algorithm and all that fun stuff. But in any case, let's go ahead and just get straight into those plays. Okay, so we're going to show off our first combo line here of what to do if you open Bonfire or Snake Eye Ash. Naturally, we're going to just use the Bonfire to search the Snake Eye Ash. There is actually another turn one combo line you could do if you open Bonfire, but I think I'm going to show that off a little bit later. This is what I consider to kind of be the main line. At least this is what I usually do on turn one if I open, again, Bonfire or Snake Eye Ash. So we're going to go for the Bonfire here to, of course, add the Snake Eye Ash. Now here, in this particular hand, we did also open Diabellstar and some Kurans, but as always, Zever. I'm going to pretend like the other four cards in my hand pretty much don't exist. We're only going to use the Bonfire / Snake Eye Ash here. So we're going to normal summon the Snake Eye Ash. Of course, we're going to activate the effect to add who else but Snake Eye's Poplar. And then we get to activate the Poplar effect to special summon itself. Pretty elementary stuff so far. Now we're going to use the Poplar effect to add the original Sinful Spoils from our deck to our hand. This is already a little bit different than pure Snake Eye. In pure Snake Eye, you would add Temple of the Fire, or a Temple of the Snake Eye here. But here, of course, we don't play Temple, so we're just going to add the original Sin. Now let's make our Linkuriboh using the Poplar as a material. And then now we can activate our Poplar's effect, targeting itself, of course, and we'll just place it in the spell trap zone. Now we can activate the original Sinful Spoils, gonna send off the Poplar that is in the spell trap, and summon out legendary Fire King Ponix directly from our deck. We now get to use the Ponix effect in order to add the Fire King Sanctuary from deck to hand. You might be wondering why go for Fire King Sanctuary, why not just add the field spell right away? Because Sanctuary is just going to place this field spell from your deck onto the field. Like, why play this card at all? The second effect here is actually highly relevant to save your field spell by destroying a fire monster instead. This is relevant because not only does the Fire King Island destroy all of your monsters if it gets sent to the graveyard or banished, but the effect here can also potentially trigger some of your Fire King effects. Also, the third effect, to Quick Xyz, does occasionally come up as well. So Sanctuary is a very good card. Alright, now Island effect, we're going to go ahead and activate that here to destroy the Ponix that is actually on our field currently, and then add the Sacred Fire King Garunix from our deck to our hand. Alright, we get to activate that Garunix effect. I'm going to call, from here on out, I'm going to refer to Sacred Fire King Garunix as New Garunix, because it's the one that just came out. And then in lines where we use High Avatar Garunix, I'm going to call that Old Garunix. We don't have to worry about old Garunix for this combo line. It does not use it, but again, if you ever hear me say new Garunix, I'm talking about this one. If you ever hear me say old Garunix, I'm talking about this one, just to clarify. But alright, now, yeah, we're activating new Garunix's effect, so we're just going to summon that right over here. And we will activate. We're going to want to destroy, actually, a Kieran that is in our deck. Again, we're just going to pretend like we don't have these Kiirans in hand. So let's destroy a Kieran that's in deck. Kieran's effect gets to activate here and special summon the Ponix that is in our graveyard. Now here is going to ask if you want to destroy a card. On turn 1, the answer is no. While sometimes it is beneficial to destroy your own fire monsters, at this point in this combo line, we don't need to do this. So we can go ahead and click no for that. Alright, now let's activate Snake Eye Ash's effect. I'm going to send it off with the Link Rebo in order to summon out the Flamberge from our deck. Alright, now from here, let's see. I want to get that Kieran that we sent to the graveyard back into our hand, right? So, what I'm going to do first is make Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. Let's use Flamberge and Sacred Fire King Garunix as the link materials for that. Alright, there's a Sunlight Wolf. Now, of course, Flamberge's effect will proc. We get to summon out a couple of our level 1 fires from the yard. And I'm going to specifically summon one of them into Sunlight Wolf's zone. That way we're able to use the Sunlight Wolf effect in order to add back the Kieran that we sent from the deck to the graveyard back to our hand. This is really, really good to do because this can be used, this effect to summon itself can be used during the opponent's turn to potentially proc one of your fire monsters. And also, of course, you can potentially use the second effect to destroy a card during your opponent's turn as well. Having Kieran in the hand, again, is just very, very valuable, especially even for your opponent's turn, but really during either player's turn. So, okay, now from here, let's go ahead and make the IP Masquerena. We'll just use these two. Alright, and then let's also go for the Flamberge. We'll use this and this. Alright, we get to use the... I always call Promethean Princess Flamberge. Sorry, I meant to say let's go for the Princess. And then Princess is going to get back the Flamberge from the graveyard. Alright, of course we're going to use the Flamberge effect in order to place IP from our graveyard into the Spell Trap Zone. And then from there, we can pivot into the Ambluale using our leftover Ponix and then the Promethean Princess that is on the field. We do also play the Salamangreat Phoenix, right? Which you normally make instead of Ambluale in pure Snake Eye, so you might be wondering, why did we go for Ambluale instead? The main reason that you go for Ambluale over the Phoenix is because we essentially have the Sacred Fire King Garunix to act as a sort of Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, right? Like, it's the same kind of condition. If our fire monster is destroyed, it'll come back. But this actually is better than Raging Phoenix because it not only brings itself back with an attack boost, but it can also destroy a fire beast or winged beast in our hand, deck, or graveyard, of course, or hand or deck rather, which could be Kieran, which could pop stuff on our opponent's field. Also, Ambluale having the opportunity to pop stuff and or bring back monsters is very, very good as well. So that's why in pure Snake Eye, Ambluale was cut for Raging Phoenix. However, in this deck, we still want Ambluale in addition to Raging Phoenix. In fact, if I had to pick between one Link 4, between Ambluale or Phoenix, I would definitely go with the Ambluale. So here's our end board. It might not look like that much different than a pure Snake Eye board, but again, remember that we have the Garunix, the new Garunix in our graveyard. We of course also have the Promethean Princess in there. We have the Kieran that we added from our grave to hand with Sunlight Wolf. And then naturally we have the IP Flamberge shenanigans, as well as potentially Ambluale for some interaction as well. So that's, again, what I consider to be the standard turn 1 combo line. That's what you can do if you open Snake Eye Ash, and what I do a lot of the time if you open Bonfire. However, there are other lines you can do if you open Bonfire, and nothing else. So we're going to go ahead and explore an alternative line here. Okay, so here is a actually very good example of an opening hand, because in this hand we truly have Bonfire and nothing else. So, as I touched upon in the last combo line, although I usually use Bonfire, just add Snake Eye Ash and then normal summon it most of the time, there is another line you can potentially do if you open exactly Bonfire. So, here again we have the Bonfire, nothing else. Let's see what we can do. So, we're going to activate Bonfire. Except this time, I'm not going to add Snake Eye Ash, I'm actually going to add Poplar. Now, because Poplar was added by the effect of another card, I can special summon it. We're going to do so now, and then we're going to activate the Poplar effect in order to add our original Sinful Spoils from deck to hand. Now, we're going to link off our Poplar for the Link Karibo. And that will naturally allow us to place the Poplar into the spell and trap zone. We'll target that here, and go here, and we're all set. Alright, now let's activate that original Sinful Spoils, sending off the Poplar, and we're going to special summon Snake Eye Ash from our deck. Now, from here, we get to activate the Snake Eye Ash effect, and remember, Snake Eye Ash is to add any level 1 fire, so we're actually going to add the Ponix here. Now I'm going to use our normal summon on the Ponix, because remember, Bonfire added Poplar, and then Poplar special summoned itself. So also, if you're wondering, okay, if you just Bonfire for Poplar, can this combo line still work if you just open Poplar? And the answer is no, because again, remember, we're going to need our normal summon for the Ponix here. So let's activate the Ponix effect. We're going to, of course, add the Fire King Sanctuary, which we can then immediately activate and place our Fire King Island face up on the field. Alright, now we're going to activate the Fire King Island effect to destroy the Ponix, and then get our new Garunix, aka Sacred Fire King Garunix. One thing that is important to remember is that when you're activating Fire King Island can destroy any monster to search, but remember that this new Garunix will only trigger if a fire monster was destroyed by card or effect. So, if you're using Fire King Island to destroy like a random, like a Maxi or something, and adding new Garunix, and you're like, hey, why isn't new Garunix summoning itself? That's why. You do have to destroy a fire monster. Even though, again, the field spell can destroy any monster to search. But alright, so we're going to use new Garunix's effect. But rather than Kirin, this time I'm going to send the Fire King Avatar Arvarta. Arvarta does actually have a very similar effect to Kirin in that it can special summon when it is destroyed. We're going to do that here and bring back our Ponix. Okay, now from here, I have to try to remember because I actually don't do this line very often at all. From here, I'm pretty sure we just go straight for the IP, if I recall correctly. Yeah, let me do this. All right, let's go IP. Oh, right, not with Link Karibo, because we can't use Link Karibo for IP. Yeah, so we're gonna use those two. Go for the IP. Yep. And then we go Promethean Princess using IP and Link Karibo. Now you might be wondering, like, really, you're not gonna use Snake Eye Ash effects for Flamberge? And here we actually don't need to. No. Alright, so now we're going to use the Promethean Princess effect, and I'm actually going to bring back that Arvarta that we sent earlier. And then from there, we're going to make Ambluale using new Garunix and Promethean Princess. Alright, and this is actually going to be it. That's actually the end of that combo. You might be wondering, well wait, isn't this a worse version of the previous combo line? And the answer is actually no, it's not worse, even though it might look like it. But it does require you to play out a lot of stuff on your opponent's turn. Basically, here's how things would go on your opponent's turn. When they activate a monster effect, you can use Fire King Avatar Arvarta to negate the activation and destroy another fire monster on the hand or field. You can use that to destroy your Ambluale. When Ambluale is destroyed, you can target a Link 3 or lower monster in either graveyard and special summon it, including your IP Masquerade, because remember, the Promethean Princess is not on the board, so you're not going to actually be locked into anything, right? Not only do you get to bring back the IP off of Ambluale's effect, but of course having a fire monster destroyed on your field will also proc Sacred Fire King Garunix, allowing you to bring it back. And also, if you time it well enough, When you bring back Garunix, you can send Kieran from the deck to the graveyard to destroy a card on the opponent's field. That does require your opponent to have another card on the field you want to destroy, in addition to the monster effect that's being negated. But our Varta only negates and does not destroy, so you could also destroy the same thing you negated. I believe that does work. And then from there, we still have the Promethean Princess in our yard in order to go for more disruption like that. It's actually not hard in this situation to get 2 level 8 fires on the field, because you'll not only have the Sacred Fire King Garunix, but on top of that, you can use the Garunix effects to, like I said, destroy the Kieran, and then potentially even bring back the Kieran by destroying our Varta later in the combo line, allowing you to actually use this effect to go for the, where is it? Here it is, the Fire King Xyz. So, I personally don't do this version of the line very often. I actually only relatively recently learned about it, but I did want to show it off here for the sake of showing off, like, complete information, right? So, we've seen what you can do if you open Sick Eye Ash or the Bonfire, but let's see what happens if we open some of the other cards in the deck. Okay, so Ponix has been a pretty key card for making our plays so far, particularly pulling this card out of the deck. But what happens if you open it? Well, if you open Ponix plus any other fire monster, then you definitely have the ability to make plays on turn 1. Of course, again, here I did open Diabell plus Kieran, which enabled me to do a whole lot of stuff, but let's assume these are like Call By and Cross Out, right? And let's assume all we have is Ponix plus Ash Blossom in order to combo with. Alright, so what we can do is we can normal summon the Ponix and then activate Ponix's effects, right? We're going to add, of course, the Fire King Sanctuary from deck to hand, and then activate the Sanctuary. Turn that to auto real quick, and then we're going to place the Fire King Island face up. Now, from here, before I activate Fire King Island's effects, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to summon Link Kribo using the Ponix as a material. I'm doing that to get the Ponix into the graveyard for, well, you're going to see in a moment. Alright, let's activate the Fire King Island's effect to destroy our fire monster. Again, you do have to destroy, even though you could destroy a non-fire monster, remember that the new Garunix, Sacred Fire King Garunix, can only summon itself when a fire monster is destroyed, right? So we're going to destroy the Ash Blossom that is in our hand, and then we're going to add the new Garunix. We're going to activate Sacred Fire King Garunix's effect. Because a fire monster was destroyed, we can special summon it, and then we will destroy a monster from our deck. Here, I'm going to destroy our Varta, not Kieran. Alright, now our Varta's effect is activated, and this is why we linked off Ponix earlier, because now we can bring it back from the graveyard. Alright, now, honestly, when you're playing this deck, if at any point you have, like, 3 monsters and one of them is a fire monster, you can probably just, like, go into plays, right? Following, like, generally about the same play pattern I'm about to show you, but there's a number of ways you can do it. So, in this situation here, we're going to make a link to first. I kind of don't think it really matters which one. So, I guess we could just make IP using these two. And then from there, we can make our Promethean Princess. And then after that, we're going to use Promethean Princess, and we're actually going to bring back the Varta that we sent away earlier. So this is actually it. And once again, ending on our Varta plus a kind of seemingly random Link monster might not, again, seem like too much. However, you know, the one thing in particular that I think is really important to keep in mind is that not only is the Varta, you know, plays in and of itself, but on top of that, we also get back new Garunix when we pop our Promethean Princess. New Garunix will send Kieran, which can pop a card on the opponent's field. And then after we do that, we're going to have the Promethean Princess in the yard so that we can then use the Promethean Princess as disruption as well. Yeah, I mean, I will definitely admit that opening Ponix is not ideal compared to opening something like Ash or Bonfire, but It's not like you have 0 plays whatsoever. Because remember, this also doesn't include the other 3 cards in your hand, which if they weren't engine to help you make plays, are likely hand traps or other forms of disruption you can use on your opponent's turn. And I think that really is the important thing here about, like, particularly playing Fire King Snake Eye over Pure Snake Eye, is that even a board like this, which doesn't look the most impressive, is still better than if Pure Snake Eye just bricked, which it does a lot more often right now, right? With Ashen Wanted at 1. So, again, that's just a quick line showing if you happen to open the Ponix, because I found myself asking a lot of the time when I'm looking at combo guides, like, hey, what if I open this card we always search out from the deck? So here's what you can do. We do have, of course, some more impressive combo lines to take a look at here. Let's see the next one. Alright, so for our next combo, I'm going to show you what you can do if you open the Diabellstar. And of course, one other card to send from your hand or field to the graveyard. Could be any card. I did open Ulcanix here, but I want to go into the Ulcanix lines a little bit later. I want to show those more towards the end, because again, I do feel that Ulcanix, while optimal, is also an optional package. So anyway, let's go with the Diabell here. I'm going to special summon Diabell. I'll just send Kieran, just so it doesn't ask me to activate it a million times this turn. But again, we're just going to pretend like that Kieran wasn't Kieran, like it was just, I don't know, a Nibiru. Why not? So, alright, we're going to special the Diabellstar, and then, of course, activate her effect in order to set the original Sinful Spoils from our deck directly to the field. Now we're going to activate, let's turn that to auto. Now we're going to activate the original Sinful Spoils, sending away the Diabellstar. And we're going to special summon the Snake Eye Ash from our deck to the field. Now here you might think like, oh yeah, that's just like a regular Snake Eye combo, right? Because now you go Ash for Poplar and then go into play. So remember, we don't have another card to search off of Poplar. So at least not one that's going to do anything for a turn 1 plays. Like, we don't have a Temple. So we're actually going to not add Poplar with Snake Eye Ash, rather add Ponix, the legendary Fire King Ponix, which we can then normal summon and activate the effect. This should be pretty familiar by now. We're going to use Ponix to add the Sanctuary. And then let's activate Sanctuary. And place our Fire King Island face up. Now I'm going to activate the Fire King Island, destroying the Ponix. And now we can add Sacred Fire King Garunix from deck to hand. This will naturally activate new Garunix's effect, which we can then summon. Alright, new Garunix effect. I'm going to send the Arvarta once again. Really, the only time that I destroy Kieran off of new Garunix is if I plan to add it back with the Sunlight Wolf, which I don't actually do too often on turn 1 outside of, like, if I open Snake Eye Ash, right? So, alright, we're going to target the Ponix here because that Kieran doesn't exist, remember? And now from here what we can do is we can activate the Snake Eye Ash effect. Let's send the Sacred Fire King Garunix for that. And now we can special summon the Flamberge. Alright, now from here we are going to summon IP Masquerada using Ponix and Flamberge. And this should, of course, trigger the Flamberge effect to bring back our 2 level 1 fires, Snake Eye Ash and Ponix. Alright, pretty simple stuff. From here, we're going to just make our Promethean Princess. Going to use that as 2 materials. Alright, we're going to activate Promethean Princess's effect in order to bring back the Flamberge. And let's also go for Ambluale using Snake Eye Ash and the Princess. But of course, we don't want to forget to use the Flamberge effect before passing over to our opponent. Now, a lot of people who have played pure Snake Eye are probably just going to instinctively place the IP into the spell trap, which, to be fair, is not a bad idea. But what you could also do is place the Fire King Avatar Arvarta into your spell and trap zone instead. So what this will allow is during your opponent's turn, like during their draw phase, right, you can Flamberge to pull out the Arvarta. Then when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can activate Arvarta, destroying Ambluale, Whale's effect will then trigger, allowing you to summon out the IP from the graveyard. So that's why you kind of don't have to place the IP in the spell trap with the Flamberge. There is some inherent risk to this. The past couple of combo lines I've talked about using Arvarta to pop Whale and then summon out IP. And in this situation, it can be potentially a little bit riskier, right? Like, you know, what if your opponent uses a spell or trap card to remove the Arvarta, then you don't have access to your IP anymore. So, again, it's kind of a risk versus reward, right? Because the reward is that you get an extra negate out of it, which is, of course, a very, very good reward. But, you know, that negate is what will then allow you to go into IP plays. There are also some situations where you might want to use IP for SP, you know, before you want to use a monster negate. So, here, I think this last step of what you place with Flamberge, it can be kind of situationally dependent, right? And if it's turn 1, you don't know what your opponent's on, it might depend on the other cards in your hand. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, pros and cons, risk versus reward. Do you want the risky play of placing Arvarta and getting an extra negate, but then potentially not being able to go into IP when you want to? Or do you want to get the safe play of placing IP, using it when you want to, but then missing out on a monster negate? The decision ultimately comes down to you. Alright, let's just go ahead and move on to our next combo line here. Okay, so similarly to Ponix, you might be kind of wondering, like, okay, Poplar is clearly a combo piece that we search out sometimes, but what happens if we open it? And yeah, I can show you what to do if you open Poplar and nothing else. Again, ignoring these two here. Alright, let's go ahead and normal summon that Poplar, and then we'll activate the effect in order to grab ourselves the original Sinful Spoils from deck to hand. We are, of course, then going to link off the Poplar for the Linkuriboh. And then we'll use the Poplar's effect in order to target itself and put itself into the spell and trap zone. Now, let's use the original Sinful Spoils. Gonna send away the Poplar. And from here, there's actually a number of different ways you could do it. It does kind of depend, and you kind of got to ask yourself, do I want to go for more Snake Eye plays or Fire King plays? But really, I don't know, if you're familiar with pure Snake Eye, then you probably recognize what you can do if you, like, you know, for example, if you went to Oak, you could Oak ring back Poplar, and then, you know, send away Oak and Linkuriboh for Flamberge, and then go into plays from there. But I want to show off Fire King stuff, which I do actually think tends to be better most of the time, or at least it'll end you with a more, like, robust board of interactions, in my opinion. So we're actually going to use the original sin to special summon the Ponix here. Alright, this will activate the Ponix effect, which you can then use to, you can probably guess this one, add Fire King Sanctuary, and then we can activate Fire King Sanctuary and place the Fire King Island face up. Now, we're going to activate Fire King Island's effect to pop the Ponix on board, and then add new Garunix. From there, we can activate the Sacred Fire King Garunix effect, which was added. Summon that right here, and then use the effect to send the Arvarta from deck to the graveyard, or to destroy it from the deck, rather. This will trigger the Arvarta effect. We're going to bring back that Ponix that's in the yard. And you might remember during the Ponix opening line that I said, hey, you know, sometimes you might find yourself in this kind of a situation, but even if all you have are, like, these three monsters, you can still always go for the IP Masquerena, and then link these off for the Promethean Princess. And then we simply use the Promethean Princess to bring back the Arvarta that we sent earlier. And once again, while this is not as powerful as our optimal turn 1 end boards, this does still provide quite a number of interactions. Again, it's the Arvarta popping the Princess in order to get a monster negate. From there, that will trigger the Sacred Fire King Garunix to come back. Sacred Fire King Garunix can send Kirin from the deck to the graveyard to potentially destroy another card on the opponent's field, or a card in general on the opponent's field. That'll also set up the Promethean Princess in our graveyard to be able to come back and destroy a card on our opponent's field if they decide to have any, you know, well, if we need to, basically. I was going to say if they decide to have any plays, which most people do decide to do that, so... this does also, of course, still leave us with the other 4 cards in our hand, which, as I mentioned last time, if you do not open any other engine pieces, then these are probably going to be 4 hand traps and or call by or cross out. Basically stuff that you can use on your opponent's turn to disrupt them as well. So, again, opening Poplar, much like Ponix, by itself is not ideal, but it does not leave you with nothing to do. And again, if we wanted to, we could have original send for Oak, bring back Poplar, and then go into Flamberge, Oak plus Flamberge into IP, Flamberge bring back 2 level 1s, go into Princess, you know, set up basically a Snake Eye board. It's kind of debatable if this setup or just a regular Snake Eye board is better. Full disclosure, most of the time I just go for Snake Eye plays, but I'm also more comfortable playing that deck, so... I think being aware of the options that you have is the most important thing to keep in mind, and that's why I wanted to explore the Fire King side of the lines, especially for this combo guide video in particular. Alright, I have at least one more combo I know that I want to show off, so let's take a look at that before we end off here. Okay, so now this combo line that I'm going to show off is probably one that most people have been looking forward to seeing. Because again, Ulcanix, this card is not actually out in the TCG. So there might be a lot of people out there who are not really aware of what this card can actually do for Fire King Snake Eye. It does open up a lot of really cool and good options. And I'll show you exactly what you can do if you open Ulcanix plus any other fire monster to destroy from your hand for, well, you'll see in a bit, of course, but more for Ulcanix's effect. There are actually, like, a couple of different ways that you can do this setup here, but I'm going to show you the one that I usually do, the one that I think is a little bit better. I'll point out the differences, too, at the end of the different setups here, but basically, we're just going to start by normal summoning the Ulcanix, and then activating the Ulcanix from our field. We destroy any fire monster in our hand. It could be literally any fire monster, including Ash Blossom. I'm going to destroy Poplar, and again, let's just kind of pretend like it's Ash Blossom, right? That doesn't have an additional effect that might help us out later. So, from here, we're going to want to add the Legendary Fire King Ponix from our deck to our hand. We don't need to change the level of the monster here. Again, we're not activating Poplar. We're going to assume that we did not send that, that we sent Ash Blossom. We can, however, activate the effect of Ponix from our hand because a fire monster was destroyed. So let's go ahead and special summon the Ponix and activate Ponix's effect. So if you've heard this one before, we're going to add Fire King Sanctuary and then activate Fire King Sanctuary in order to place the Fire King Island face up. Now, let's go ahead and activate our Fire King Island. However, unlike every other combo line where we've been destroying the Ponix, we're actually going to want to destroy the Ulcanix. And then, of course, we're going to search New Garunix, Sacred Fire King Garunix. Alright, now, because we destroyed Ulcanix by a card effect, actually, this will also proc if it gets destroyed by battle. But we can special summon exactly Fire King High Avatar Garunix. That's going to be Old Garunix. And we have to summon it exactly from the deck. So we're going to do that now. And then we also get to, of course, use the effect of New Garunix because, well, a fire monster got destroyed. Alright, so we'll throw both those effects onto the chain link here. Summon. And then we will summon Old Garunix as well. Alright, now we're going to activate the effect of New Garunix, Sacred Fire King Garunix. And we'll destroy the Arvarta that is in our deck. Now from here we get to activate the Arvarta effect and bring back the Ulcanix that is already in our graveyard. Alright, now here's kind of where the path sort of diverges, I suppose. Because, well, actually it diverged earlier. Basically, you could actually send Kieran instead of Arvarta, and then make an Sunlight Wolf here, and then add the Kieran back to hand. However, with this combo line, I actually prefer to send the Arvarta, and the reason for that is because We could go for IP. Let's use... we'll just use these two. Alright, here is the IP Masquerena, and, I mean, you might as well make the Link Rebo, because we're just gonna go for the Princess anyway, so it's like, we'll just weave it in, right? Alright, so Promethean Princess, I'm gonna make that using these two. Now, what you can do is you can use Promethean Princess to bring back our good friend Arvarta. And now we can use Ulcanix and Princess to make Ambluale. Alright, and this actually looks pretty similar to the second combo line, I believe, that we saw. The setup where we Bonfired for Poplar instead of for Snake Eye Ash, right? So, we don't have access to our Snake Eye stuff, but here we do still have access to quite a few disruptions. We can use Arvarta during our opponent's turn to pop the Ambluale. That'll let us bring back the IP from our graveyard. That'll also trigger Garunix to send a Kiran to pop. We can let IP into, you know, any number of stuff, either SP or Appaloosa. And then, of course, we do also still have the Promethean Princess that is in the graveyard as well. So, lots of disruption to set up with that combo line. And in some ways, like, yeah, it might not be quite as robust as a combo line with the Snake Eye stuff, but really the end board that you get here is fairly comparable, in my opinion, to what a board with Snake Eye stuff would get you, right? And again, if you wanted to, you could actually send Kiran instead of Arvarta, and then make a Sunlight Wolf and add back the Kiran, but the main difference is that you'll only end on Ambluale and nothing else at that point, which is not as good, because, like, even if you use Kiran, like, you could use the Kiran to destroy your own Ambluale, potentially, but that doesn't really seem like that's, you know, that common to come up. You could use Promethean Princess to pop your own Ambluale, but then you can't bring back IP. You'd have to bring back the Sunlight Wolf, which would be a little more awkward, so I generally prefer this setup. I think if you open Ulcanix, this turn 1 setup is the way to go. Alright, I believe that is actually going to do it now for the combo lines. That's all I have to show you. So, thank you so much for checking these out. I really hope this video helps some people out who are looking to use this deck, especially in the World Championship qualifiers. Again, that event coming up this weekend. I hope that this information was helpful. I think that there are a lot of combo lines here that people like me who are used to playing pure Snake Eye might not be aware of. So, again, wanted to show those off here for this video. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks again. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.